So you want to invest in Web3 but you don't know what tokens to buy, you can use SwissBorg's thematics instead. They select a collection of the best performing Web3 tokens and rebalance them upon performance. So you don't need to worry about going all in on an absolute steaming turd. Sounds good to me. SwissBorg.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Litecoin as we are approaching the halving. We're about 3.5 days away. It's a rough estimate, so give or take 3 days, let's say. And so with that, you'd expect some kind of move, probably a pump and a dump. It's usually what I'd expect to see. In halvings prior, that's the sort of behaviour that you'd see. As far as the daily is concerned, we're above all moving averages and looking to effectively creep out of what could be seen as a descending triangle, but more or less, I'll be looking at the Bollinger Band as the resistance rather than a diagonal trend line. And we're above it today, so we broke above it yesterday and we're still above it today, looking to possibly retest that area, 93.30. And anything lower than that would be okay. Let's take it to a 4 hourly to see what's going on there. So the 200 exponential and the 10 exponential is 92.70, and obviously that's rising with every 4 hourly candle body. Momentum's still good here, not really a problem. And on the daily, the momentum's also quite good, with the MACD looking to make a positive cross above the 0 point, probably over the next 2 or 3 days, so leading us into that halving date. So it's been pretty underwhelming since the beginning of the year. You'll have made gains on this, so if you bought this, on a fundamental reason to think, okay, well, we got halving coming through for Litecoin, at its peak would have been 80%, currently sitting at 47%, so you would have made some okay gains, let's face it. It's not the worst thing anyone's ever bought. I look at the stocks and shares that I bought, and I think some have underperformed Litecoin, but some have overperformed. Like Meta, for instance, is wiped the floor with something like Litecoin. So crypto is not the be all and end all, and you would have expected, or should I say, I would have expected something better from Litecoin, given that the halving was approaching. It's the first sort of major altcoin or crypto in general to have had a halving at the beginning of this cycle, and it's basically not done anything close to what it did in the previous bull market, where it basically it led the show. I remember it clearly. So the bull market, we kind of measure it from around about March to April. February, we already started moving quite significantly, so we can think about it from there. 300%. So yeah, way better in the cycles prior than this little thing. But let's not take away from what we see, which is that we've got a chart which is above all moving averages here, which are about to cross positive on a MACD. So long as we can hold this level of price or higher. We take it to a 4 hourly, and 4 hourly is okay. Got a rejection today so far in the 200 simple moving average, but other than that, we're above all moving averages, with support sitting down around 91 and a decent support sitting around 92.67. So all seems okay. We'd like to see this cheeky span break out the price action, and if we were to stay at this price or higher, we've got another basically 2 days to generate what would be a pump signal. We've got a resistance above us at 98, and then break that, you've got our previous local high at around 114, and then just above that we've got 130. So all of those would be on the cards for what would be this halving, what do you want to call it, mania, which at the moment it looks like no one's really bothered about this halving mania. So the halving, even though it's kept the chart looking kind of healthy as far as trend and momentum and relationship to moving averages are concerned, price hasn't really benefited in comparison to other coins, for instance, that have held higher values, higher gains. Litecoin is just, it's plodding along, but it's not bad. So let's have a look at some even higher term time frames. So the 3 days above all moving averages, with the 200 exponential sitting around 92.30 and the Bollinger Band sitting around 90 and the 10 exponential sitting around 93. So I'd say from around 90 to about 93 on a variety of time frames, it's okay. It's also above the 0 point for the 3 day. The momentum is still good on the 3 day. And let's finish with the weekly before we look at the Bitcoin pair. So the weekly again is above all moving averages, and if we just look at this, then we've got a 200 simple at around 101. So look, there's a lot of support below us, more support below us than there is resistance above us, I would say. So buying the dip on something like this over the next 3 days could be something you could think about doing. Now I'm going to tell you now, despite the chart looking like this, I'm not going to do it because I believe that the pump will be followed by a dump, and then that dump will be long lasting. So personally, if I had have bought any Litecoin, which I didn't, but if I had have bought any Litecoin, I'd be getting ready to sell it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'd be getting ready to sell it. I wouldn't want to hold it 1 second after that halving. Probably I'd be looking to sell it, a few seconds before the halving, which is going to be very difficult to time, because even though there is a timer and a countdown, it's based around the blocks, isn't it, really? So we don't know exactly when the halving will really take place, but we got a rough estimate. So personally, I call these sort of trades a train dodge. It's like, I don't really hear about it anymore, but back in the olden days, people are always talking about mainnet. Mainnet this, mainnet that on all these different blockchains. Mainnet's coming, mainnet, and then what happens is mainnet comes and it dumps. So it works in exactly the same way as a halving. Same way, actually, the burns would take place. And it sounds like it's all counterintuitive, but it says, oh, there's going to be a burn. BNB's going to do a burn. They're going to do a burn. They're burning. They're going to burn. They're going to burn. Everything's going to burn, and then it burns and it dumps. Why? Because it's a buy the rumor, sell the news. And then obviously the burn finally finds its way into the price action and goes up in value. But these sort of things, it should have risen the price higher than where it is right now. So it's kind of bit lame to see us trending just above 50% from the beginning of the year, although you can't really complain with that. So let's have a look at the Bitcoin pair for Litecoin. So not quite as strong, but still relatively strong. So consolidated, we're above the Bollinger Band, above most moving averages, only the 200 exponential and simple above us. No pump signal here though, and we are crossing above the 0 point. So as far as momentum's concerned on the Bitcoin pair, it's actually stronger than the Tether pair. Pump signal generated on the 4 hourly for the Bitcoin pair, which is good, and we're above all moving averages. So again, better chart than its Tether pair. What else shall we see? The 3-day. 3-day, we've got resistance sitting around here at 3,467 sats. But again, 65% more likely to make our way up towards that level than break down from there. Quite high when it comes to money flow index. Let's have a look at the how to compare this to previous reads. So it is high, but it can obviously go higher. So this makes me think that we are looking for a pump and then a dump. And finally, let's take us to a weekly where we are finding ourselves at a major resistance. So it's the weekly on the Bitcoin pair, which is, if there's going to be a struggle, this is where it's going to be. But if this pops, breaks and closes, then yeah, we could find our way up towards maybe into the 4,000 sat zone. So it's not the worst thing you've ever seen in the world. And again, on a fundamental basis, you'd expect a pump and a dump, which means that there's likely to be a pump. On the technical front, there is every reason to expect further upside on this one. The chart suggests further upside, but like I say, we call it a train dodge because that's basically what it is. If you hold this too long, and again, we've only got 3.5 days to hold it for, really, if anyone wants to do it at all. For the most part, if you don't hold it, it might be something that you could just sit back. If you're new enough to crypto to have never witnessed something like this, it might be something you could just sit back and watch to appreciate, the madness of crypto. It's not dissimilar to anything else in the world, though. Buy the rumor, sell the news applies to pretty much anything, whether it's forex, commodities, the lot. Buy the rumor, sell the news. That's how markets behave. They price things in before the fundamentals are realized, and then that's it. Then there's a sell-off, and then later on it then picks back up again because the fundamentals do mean something, but the mania is finished. So we can sit back and just admire the show, which will be a pump and a dump, but that's just what I would expect to see. And to be fair, on a risk to reward basis, buying at this exact level right now and holding it through the halving, you're probably, and it sounds pessimistic, but you're probably looking to risk more than you are to reward. So that's only because if there was going to be some form of price action seen in Litecoin, it should have already been seen by now. And so all we're going to see from here would be like a stab up and then a quick move down, and then probably a consolidation that goes on for a long period of time, really. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. There's nothing much more to say about it. I just thought I'd bring this video out because crypto is effectively the most boring thing I've seen for a long, long time. It's been boring for ages, and if there is anything going on recently, you know, this next week, this is going to be one of the things to watch and admire. It's pretty much the only thing on the charts that I can see that's worthy of a video, really, to be honest with you. But if there are videos that you'd want me to make about particular altcoins, let me know in the comments. And you know, if there's something to say about that altcoin, I'll do it. You know, if there's a chart worthy of looking at and reporting on it, I'll certainly do it for you. But for the most part, most altcoins were looking pretty sideways and boring, and there will likely be some setups generated next week. That's what we saw on the Patreon on Friday, but they were still not quite ripe for a setup. So yeah, maybe coming into Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll see some more setups that could materialize into price. But right now, sideways, boring to the max, and we'll just sit back and watch them and see how these charts mature, basically. Right, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.